Hey everyone, I want to add a post-processing effect to my game to create a sense of dizziness when I hit the electrical barriers in the side. Let's get started. Okay, let's get down to it. I got a game like this right now where I can fly around a little ship and I dodge obstacles. Now when I hit the side barrier here, I would like there to be kind of like a blur effect to create a sense of dizziness after I hit this barrier. And I'm going to do that by using a post-processing effect. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a post-processing volume. So I'm going to create an empty game object. I'll call it impact blur effect. I'll drop it here into the camera parent object here along with the other post-processing effect that I have in place. I'm going to add a volume to it. I'm going to create a new profile and I'm going to give it I'm going to use the depth of field effect here. Turn it all on, use this effect here, and what I'll be manipulating is this focal length parameter. As you can see, this isn't really affecting anything yet, and the reason for that is because I have a bit of a customized setup here with my cameras. As you might have noticed, I already have a post-processing effect in place here, this bloom effect, that only applies to this barrier object here. And to achieve this effect, and to only apply it to this select object here, I have this camera set up using a stack of cameras. So the first overlaying camera that I have here is this post layer 1, which is in here. This renders everything on post layer 1, and it applies the volume on the post layer 1 layer. And this volume is this bloom post-processing effect. And I set up the scene so that these left and right walls, these barriers here, are the only objects on this post layer 1 layer. And that's how I can selectively apply this post-processing effect only to those objects. Now, because of this setup here, I need to now ensure that this impact blur effect is also configured correctly so that it appears in my camera stacking setup. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to check here real quick what layer this is on, and it is on default. I'm going to put it on post layer 2. And we can already see something's happening because post layer 2 has already been kind of pre-configured here. It's also using a culling mask and a volume mask, and the environment, this cylinder here, is on post layer 2. So much for that. We have that set up, and when I play around with this parameter here, my blur effect changes. Now what I want to happen is that when I hit this barrier, I would like it to kind of get blurry and then clear up over time to kind of create a sense of dizziness. So I'll programmatically be manipulating this value here. So to do that, let's jump into the script of this ship here and give it access to these post-processing parameters. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a volume, blur volume, and I'll hold on to the actual post-processing profile, the depth of field profile. Depth of field, dizziness blur. And in the start method, so that I don't have to do this in each frame, I will set everything up. Yeah, so getting access to these post-processing effects in code is a bit cumbersome and clunky. It involves creating a temp variable first off, so var depth of field temp, and then using this kind of clunky API to try and get this this depth of field effect out of the volume. And let me see if I remember this. Let's see, what did I call it? Dizzy blur. Nope. So the blur volume dot profile dot try get depth of field, and then there is out temp. And if this succeeds, this try get, I can assign the temporary variable to my dizziness blur field, and now I'm ready to access the post-processing effect in code. And where I will do this is I have a collision method here that detects whether I hit the boundary. And here is where I want to actually call up a method that shows the blur effect and then fades it out. So I'm going to call this method, and it's going to be, I'm going to use a coroutine to do this, because I'm going to adjust the blur effect, or the value of I'm going to adjust the blurriness over time across multiple frames. So I'm going to use a post-processing effect for this. Dizziness blur. Something like this, yeah? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the volume here. So blur volume dot set active, game object set active true. The reason being is at the end, when I hide the blur effect, I essentially just want to deactivate the entire volume so that there is really no remnant or artifacts or anything kind of left over from the blur effect. And because I will disable it at the end, I first have to enable it when I want to show the blur, and that's what I'm doing here. Then the maximum blur is something like 300. The no blur is something like 120. Okay, and now what I want to do is I basically want to over time adjust the value of the blur effect. So I'm going to do this for a total duration of 5 seconds. And then I'm going to create the for loop like this. Var time passed equals 0. Time passed is less than duration. Time passed, time dot delta time. Then I'm going to calculate a factor time passed, duration foseconds. Then I'm going to apply the factor to my blur property. So focal length is the property that we're going to be overriding. We have to use this override method, and then in here what we're going to do is we're going to use a linear interpolation from the maximum blur to no blur using this factor, and that should take care of it. And then at the end we got to also return null here so that Unity has a chance to basically go back to the update method here. Yeah, so basically we just want one iteration of this loop to happen in a single frame, and then yield return null will allow the engine to continue with the rest of the frame and then get back to or continue here in the next frame. And at the end of it, I do want to, as mentioned, turn off the game object, the blur effect altogether. Let's see what this looks like. All right, give this a go. Let's see whether this works. Forgot to set the reference, of course. So this now expects this volume here. I will give it the impact blur effect volume, and we'll try this again. And let's see, moment of truth. I didn't see much here. Didn't really see anything, to be honest. Yeah, of course. I know why. We're not calling this anywhere. So we actually got to call it here when we collide. So show a blur effect to simulate dizziness. Start coroutine. Show dizziness. And let's give this one a go. All right. Now. There we go. Ooh, that's a slow return to visibility here, to clean and clear visibility, but it's not bad if the game punishes you a bit here. Whoa, okay, this is maybe a bit too much, too long. Okay, but the point is it works. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, well, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.